The Great Pyramid of Giza is the oldest and largest between three pyramids of Giza. It's also the oldest and the only still standing structure of the seven wonders of the ancient world. The Great Pyramid was built around 2560 to 2540 BC, with a height of 481 feet. The pyramids of Giza are listed as cultural World Heritage Sites. The Great Pyramid of Giza, also known as the Pyramid of Khufu or the Pyramid of Cheops, is the oldest and largest of the pyramids in the Giza Plaza complex bordering present-day Giza in Greater Cairo, Egypt. It is the oldest of the seven wonders of the ancient world and the only one to remain largely intact. Much can be said about this pyramid and its construction. Scientists have concluded how it was made, but even that is a theory. Its construction is baffling, and often mysterious and even supernatural methods were used to explain it. To say it is a marvel is an understatement. For it to be built in antiquity using basic tools boggles the mind, as there are stones within the pyramid. Even our modern equipment and heavy lifting machines would labor just to shift or adjust the stones. There's also signs of advanced science and machinery used in its construction. The Great Pyramid has been determined to be about 4,600 years old by two principal approaches. Indirectly, through its attribution to Khufu and his chronological age based on archaeological and textual evidence, and directly via radiocarbon dating of organic material found in the pyramid and included in its mortar. However, if either or both of these points of references are incorrect, then the age of the pyramid could be much older. We have no way of dating stone, so organic material found within the pyramid was used for carbon dating, material that could have been introduced into it later. And if Khufu didn't design and construct it, as some scientists are now questioning, then basing it on his lifespan could also be incorrect. The Pyramid of Khufu seems to raise more questions than it answers, and without any definitive proof, it remains a point of conjecture to this day. For decades, people have alluded to secret chambers within the pyramid yet to be discovered, and the entire complex is inexplicable, as well as more monuments that raise further speculation. We do not have the technology to build Great Pyramid monuments today. Even our best engineering cranes and lifting machines cannot set 70-ton blocks precisely into place. However, smaller pyramids have been built and do show unusual electromagnetic properties. Pyramid energy has been found to preserve fruits and vegetables, sharpen razor blades, and charge batteries. But these are parlor tricks compared to the power and possibility of these unique machines. Imagine if we could rediscover the possibilities of pyramid power. How would it change and enhance our society? A Canadian hospital tried using a pyramid in their burn ward. The results were that after being under the pyramid for a few minutes, the patient's pain started to reduce. They also found that burned areas healed much faster. Egyptologists have found well-preserved grain in tombs that is thousands of years old. In sharp contrast, grains stored in modern silos usually spoils after only a few seasons of storage. Grain in modern silos usually keeps no longer than 4 years. Careful study reveals several unique and beneficial qualities that may be derived from pyramid meditation. Experienced meditators relate profound results in their quest for expanded awareness. Many people feel that psychic powers are stimulated or heightened by the use of pyramids. Psychics who use pyramids in this fashion have achieved an altered state of consciousness more rapidly than they would have otherwise. Placed on the head, focusing through the chakra system during meditation sessions, clearing psychic passages which may have been blocked. The pyramid is a geometric amplifier which increases the power of prayer or strengthens the spiritual request of a religious devotee. Testimonials from several sources demonstrate that pets of all kinds thrive under or within open-frame pyramids. Dogs and cats are observed to respond to the pyramids. There is also a slowing or complete stopping of the growth of microorganisms. Recent advances in Kirlian photography show the human aura to be significantly brighter after a 15-minute exposure period within a pyramid. Is this evidence of the healing and preservation power of pyramids? And why are we not using this power in modern medicine? Did ancient man have knowledge of advanced spiritual and medical procedures? Or could this power have been in common usage by some ancient civilization whose existence is lost in antiquity? There is a such thing as pyramid power. The idea that the pyramid shape can heal, restore, and even preserve organic material. Some believe the pyramids were used for healing or to enhance life in some way. Back in the 1970s, pyramid power became something of a fad as more people began to explore this shape and how it focused energy for better health and life. This tradition continues to this day, with many holistic and metaphysical societies using pyramids for relaxation, meditation, and healing energy. These are actually based on real medical data. Research has shown that the energy field within the pyramid can protect the hippocampal neurons of mice from stress-reduced atrophy and also reduce neuroendocrine stress, oxidative stress, and increased antioxidant defense in rats. Pyramid research to date reveals some evidence that the space within the Great Pyramid and its smaller replicas enhances, intensifies, and/or generates energy of the electromagnetic spectrum and other forms or degrees of the so-called universal energy. The effect of this pyramid energy has been studied on solids, liquids, plants, animals, and even human volunteers. Some of the findings of such studies include rapid growth of plants, faster healing of bruises and burns, longer preservation of milk, and increased vitalization and better relaxation in human subjects, according to a PMC government study. In today's world, stress and tension rule pretty much the entire universe. These issues are caused due to a lack of positivity and direction in the lives of individuals. Sleeping pills and muscle relaxants have made their way into the homes of millions as an easy escape from psychological problems. But there is a better alternative. Your subconscious mind, which is not as mysterious or as inaccessible as you might think. It is only our thought process that makes us calm or agitated. To deal with all of these problems, what we have to do is to change the turbulent behavior into peaceful behavior through pyramid therapy, which is done under a geometrically shaped structure that is formed by 4 equilateral triangles at the same size on a square base in such a manner that it forms an apex on that square base. It is one of the most powerful tools to heal your chakras or harmonize your mind, body, and soul. The pyramid's power is considered to have supernatural or paranormal properties. This power is said to preserve food, maintain the sharpness of razor blades, improve health, trigger sexual urges, and cause other dramatic effects. The concept of pyramidology is said to have originated from many parts of the world, but Egypt is one of the top when it comes to talking about the subject in depth and the mystery surrounding it. Now, coming back to chakras, that also means the wheel of light in Sanskrit. The chakras are the 7 power points in the human body that circulate energy, or the life force, also known as the prana. They are vertically aligned in the center of the body, close to the spine. If the chakras are unbalanced, not properly aligned or blocked, it can affect physical and mental health. The spiritual development is also connected with the good health of the chakras. Pyramids have a special property to deflect any type of cosmic radiations that falls on its apex downwards through its baseline at the bottom, where it's deflected cosmic radiation with the help of magnetic fields of Earth, gravitational force, and they create a new and powerful bioenergy field. Secondly, as pyramids deflect all radiation that fall on its apex through its bottom from all of its 4 sides, the inner center of the pyramid remains unaffected and safe, surrounded by a powerful bioenergy field on all sides, which helps to preserve the things and objects kept in the pyramid for a long time. Pyramids have a strong ionization effect within the body. Negative ions enhance the oxygen intake of the human body and through that strengthen well-being. Meditating under a pyramid or just taking a nap under a pyramid helps to synchronize the 7 chakras of the body. Many people experience feelings ranging from calmness to extreme euphoria during their meditation sessions inside a pyramid. Most people who have experimented with pyramid meditation describe themselves as experiencing a total relaxation of their body, followed by the shutting out of unnecessary external stimuli and irrelevant thoughts, and finally achieving an altered state of consciousness which allows them to concentrate on deeper inner levels. Is it possible that ancient man knew these secrets of the pyramid and used pyramids for healing? If so, how did they learn these facts? Did they figure it out on their own, or was this information communicated to them? If the healing power of pyramids was communicated to ancient man by some outside source, then that would be a huge motivator for cultures around the globe to choose this shape for their needs. It would explain why cultures separated by distance may have received this same knowledge and inspiration to begin construction on giant monumental pyramid buildings with chambers inside for healing energy. Is it possible that pyramids began as healing centers, like ancient hospitals, and then were used by preceding cultures for kings, empires, and finally for slaughter to gods they no longer understood? Healing powers may not be the only characteristics of the pyramids. Could the pyramids themselves be blatantly pointing to where this knowledge came from? All pyramid structures around the world are situated towards a specific stellar alignment. The relative positions of three main ancient Egyptian pyramids on the Giza plateau are by design correlated with the relative positions of the three stars in the constellation of Orion, which make up Orion's belt, as these stars appeared in 10,000 BC. The orientation of the Teotihuacan pyramid structure may hold some anthropological significance. The pyramid is oriented slightly northwest of the horizon point of the setting sun on 2 days a year, August 12th and April 29th, which are about one divinatory calendar year apart for the Teotihuacanos. The day of August 12th is significant because it would have marked the date of the beginning of the present era and the initial day of the Maya long count calendar. In addition, many important astrological events can be viewed from the location of the pyramid that are important in terms of both agriculture and belief systems of the ancient society. The Chinese pyramid of Zhanyang matches the constellation of Gemini, including the star Betelgeuse from the neighboring constellation of Orion. Also, the pyramid matches the brightest star in Taurus, Aldebaran. A study of the sky dating back to 10,500 BC finds the constellation of Gemini is rising on the spring equinox on that date, with the pyramids matching the sky at sunrise. These pyramids appear to have similar alignments to Teotihuacan and Giza. What are the odds all of these pyramids having this one unique galactic alignment? Surely this cannot be a coincidence. Is it possible that all the known pyramids were built by the same people, or were inspired by their advanced knowledge? A further study of the Zhanyang Chinese pyramid results in many unique facts. Chinese pyramids are ancient mausoleums and burial mounds said to have been built to house the remains of several early emperors of China and their imperial relatives. About 38 of them are located around 22 miles northwest of Zion on the Qinshan Plains of Shanxi Province. The most famous is the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor, northeast of Zion, where the terracotta warriors were found. They have flat tops and thus are more similar in shape to the Teotihuacan pyramids than to the pyramids in Egypt. Although known in the West for at least a century, their existence has been made controversial by sensationalist publicity and the problems of Chinese archaeology in early 20th century. Very little is known about these Chinese pyramids because of government secrecy. In fact, the Chinese government has planted trees on some in an attempt to hide them. What kind of construction are these pyramids? Some of the pyramids are currently in very poor condition, as they were plundered by the local citizens. The pyramids are mostly built of loam and soil. Some farmers destroyed the pyramids to take the loam and soil to their fields and use them in their farms. The heights of the pyramids, situated in the Sichuan Plains, are about 25 to 100 meters, with the exception of only one pyramid situated to the north of the rest of the constructions. It is the so-called Great White Pyramid, which is said to be about 300 meters high. This pyramid can be truly called the mother of all Chinese pyramids. Recently, the Chinese authorities declared the area where the Great White Pyramid stands a closed region, as a launching pad for rockets is situated in that region. According to an old Chinese legend, over 100 pyramids built in China are evidence of visits paid by aliens to our planet. The first record of the pyramids was written over 5,000 years ago. Therefore, it is very likely that they are even older. The Chinese emperors themselves insisted that they were ancestors of the sons of the sky who had landed on Earth in iron dragons. Aliens are alleged to have been the constructors of the pyramids. The Chinese pyramids resemble the pyramids in Central America. Is it possible that the South American pyramids were also constructed by these sons of the sky? Modern scientists use carbon dating to determine the age of ancient artifacts. But carbon dating only works with organic objects. It does not work with stone or rock. In order to determine the age of rock, scientists must first find something organic near the rock and date that, such as wood, fabric, or other organic materials. Because we cannot date stone itself, we truly have no idea the age of all stone structures. Our dating methods are an educated guess at best. Archaeologists believe Egypt's large pyramids were the work of the Old Kingdom society that rose to prominence in the Nile Valley around 3000 BC. Historical analysis tells us that the Egyptians built the Giza pyramids in a span of 85 years between 2589 and 2504 BC. Now, most archaeologists say the Sphinx is about 4,500 years old. However, some claim that the vertical weathering patterns on the Sphinx could only have been made thousands of years earlier when the area had abundant rainfall. So, what is the truth? The pyramid texts are a collection of ancient Egyptian religious texts from the time of the Old Kingdom. They are possibly the oldest known religious texts in the world. Written in Old Egyptian, the pyramid texts are carved on the walls and sarcophagi of the pyramids at Saqqara during the 5th and 6th dynasties of the Old Kingdom. The oldest of the texts have been dated to between 2400 and 2300 BC. These texts do not mention the Sphinx. Why? Because it was buried in the sand until 1400 BC. Evidence that Thutmose IV's campaign is preserved in the so-called dream stele he erected between the two paws of the Sphinx in 1400 BC. According to the story inscribed in the stela, the Sphinx spoke to him in a dream and asked the prince to free him from the sand, which he did. Therefore, the Egyptians did not build the Sphinx. They discovered it. If the Egyptians didn't construct the Sphinx, who did and when? Is the Great Pyramid of Giza as old as the Sphinx as well? The Giza-Orion correlation theory is a hypothesis in pyramidology. Its central claim is that there is a correlation between the location of the three largest pyramids of the Giza pyramid complex and the three middle stars of the constellation Orion, and that this correlation was intended as such by the pyramid builders. This alignment occurred 12,500 years ago. The Orion correlation theory states that the construction of the Great Sphinx was begun in 10,500 BC, that the Sphinx's lion shape is a definitive reference to the constellation of Leo, and that the layout and orientation of the Sphinx, the Giza Pyramid Complex, and the Nile River are an accurate reflection or map of the constellations of Leo, Orion's Belt, and the Milky Way respectively. There is no other way to explain this correlation. 12,500 BC is the only time in the precession of the equinoxes, when the astrological age was Leo, and when that constellation rose directly east of the Sphinx at the vernal equinox. These propositions and other theories are used to support the overall belief in an advanced and ancient but now vanished global progenitor civilization. Add to this, the Sphinx has been heavily weathered by rainwater and must therefore have been carved in pre-dynastic times. With these facts, you begin to understand how our dating methods are inaccurate at best.
Thousands of years ago, a special advanced race of beings came to Earth. They were seen as gods by primitive man and worshipped. They set themselves apart, and yet some mated with humans and created a special race. When the elders departed, this hybrid species remained and taught mankind. Civilization emerged. Writing, art, science, engineering, architecture, and more spread around the globe. The human race that had been happy for tens of thousands of years to hunt and gather now built massive pyramids, cultivated the land, forged steel, and eventually held tiny computers in their hands that enabled them to communicate around the world instantly and discover knowledge with the swipe of a finger.
A question that continues to elude modern man is why this shape was chosen for so many cultures and used to erect giant monuments when much easier and simpler shapes could have been utilized. The most basic answer is the shape of a pyramid allows weight to be distributed evenly throughout the structure. Most of the weight in a pyramid is on the bottom, and it decreases the higher you go. This allowed ancient civilizations to create huge structures of stone that were very sturdy. So, did ancient civilizations figure this out on their own, or was this somehow communicated to them? Why use heavy stones to construct these shapes when smaller, lighter stones would have been easier to transport and align into the structure? Some pyramids contain very large, heavy stones. Some so heavy, even today with modern technology, we would have a hard time moving and setting them into a complex design of a pyramid. In the case of the Native American mounds, they were constructed by using baskets of dirt piled into a pyramid shape. Though this was easier than transporting and aligning huge blocks, it still was an enormous endeavor, requiring many workers and time to finally complete the mound. What was their motivation to take on such an enormous task? Cultures around the globe apparently took on this very same task, constructing pyramids from small and even giant stone blocks. Motivation is the key. No matter how important a god or an individual was, this was an enormous effort to memorialize him or her. Often it took decades to complete a monument of such size, and a workforce dedicated to finalizing the pyramid. Statues and other stone works often contribute to the arrangements and placements in and around a pyramid. Belief can be a powerful motivator. So what did they believe in? Was it the memory of a king or leader, a person that was placed in such high regard they deified him or her? Or could it be that they witnessed something so grandiose, so amazing, it changed them spiritually forever, and they felt they needed to memorialize that encounter? If ancient cultures were so motivated to use this shape and build giant monuments, then the motivation itself must have been grand, and it happened all around the globe. It's possible that peoples from ancient cultures traveled the globe,
saw monuments from other cultures and wanted to emulate a version of their own. Or someone or something brought the idea to them and motivated them where they were. Is it possible that a single event witnessed by cultures around the planet was the impetus to start construction on a pyramid or a complex, and work to finalize it as a monument to this event? If so, what kind of event would sear this shape into the minds of these ancient people and be so powerful as to motivate them to do such an enormous physical task? There are many theories as to why pyramids appear in almost all cultures around the world. One is the extraterrestrial theory. The origins and composition of the Great Pyramid, our oldest wonder of the world, have long confounded scholars. How did engineers manage to achieve this seemingly impossible feat that building these masterpieces would require? Well, the truth is, nobody knows for sure. While some believe that construction workers may have used large ramps to transport the stones, this theory has been largely disproven, as there is little archaeological evidence to support the claim. According to some, the aliens were instrumental in helping ancient Egyptians build their masterpieces. Believers argue that in order to design the pyramids as they are, one would need a bird's eye view, the kind that could be provided from a flying saucer. They also believe that in order to create an object that obeys the golden ratio, a mathematical relationship based on the special number pi, the Egyptians would have needed help from outside sources. The alien theory has persisted to present day. In 2001, Russian scientist Dr. Viktor Ivanovich claimed that the KGB had found ancient alien remains inside the Great Pyramid. Like its pyramid counterparts, the Great Sphinx of Giza is one of the largest and most mysterious ancient structures in the world. At 240 feet long and 66 feet wide, the Sphinx crouches on its forearms and haunches, but looks ready to spring into action at any moment. It is often seen as a statue of solar worship, because it faces due east and because the lion is a symbol traditionally associated with the sun. No one knows for sure who created this grand hybrid creature, but historians suspect that it was erected in honor of Pharaoh Khafi, the son of Khufu, though there isn't much evidence to support even this claim. We do know that unlike the pyramids, the Sphinx was not constructed from many different pieces. It was carved from a single block of limestone, which remains a miraculous feat in itself. Naturally, some people have proposed that aliens had a hand in creating the Sphinx, going as far as citing similarities between the Sphinx vestige and a humanoid face that appears in a satellite photo of Mars. Today, the enormous statue still stands even after extensive vandalism and weathering, including thousands of years of having been buried almost entirely under the sand until it was dug up in the 1930s. Its age is in question too, as some of the Sphinx shows weathering that could only have occurred thousands of years before modern archaeologists believe it was made. Whether or not ancient cultures were blessed by alien visitors, the ancient Egyptians have provided us with some of the most important technologies humans have created. They developed modern writing technologies, including ink made of a brew of gum, soot, and beeswax, and they used the ink to write on the first paper on record, papyrus, which is crafted from the pith of the papyrus plant. Putting their paper and ink to good use, they developed an intricate lettering system that used some 1,000 characters. The hieroglyphics survived and eventually evolved into the Phoenician alphabet, the oldest alphabetical lettering system on record. They also made strides in agriculture, inventing highly advanced cutting tools and pioneering the first iterations of technologies like the ox-drawn plow and the sickle around 4000 BC. Could all of these inventions have been inspired as gifts from an alien civilization that our cultures had contact with? Arguably, the ancient Egyptians set the stage for the hyper-advanced civilization we live in now, where we measure the grandeur of civilizations by their tallest buildings and their rapid technological growth. As the ancient Arabic proverb says, man fears time, time fears the pyramids.
All of this and more is only part of the story. For our benefactors had an ulterior motive. They took control of our minds and hearts. They control this world. They control all of us. From the moment you are born, you are numbered and moved through a process to feed their machine. Nobody is truly free. We are all working for the masters. Every now and then, they are revealed to the world, and in the 18th century, we had a glimpse of their massive power. We know them as the Illuminati, and they originated in ancient times. Quote, throughout Mesopotamia, from the earliest times of Sumer and Akkad, all lands were owned by gods and men were their slaves. Of this, the cuneiform texts leave no doubt whatsoever. Each city-state had its principal god, and the king was described in the very earliest written documents that we have as, quote, the tenant farmer of the god. All the great religions originate in the same historical tales of great lights that descended to earth, taught the humans, brought them out of the Dark Ages, bred them and established rulers and priests. Using propaganda, mind control, and even force, humans were treated like sheep and told to believe and behave. We had to worship the lights in the sky. We had to bow to their representatives on earth, and we had to pay the priest for the privilege of doing so. Land was taken from us, and we were told to pay to live upon it. To pay, we had to work every waking moment. Then, we had to pay taxes to the relatives of the rulers and priests in government who made laws to keep us controlled. We were thrown into war against our brothers, told to build pyramids and great walls, experimented on, and abused every step of the way. If any of this is sounding familiar, it is simply because absolutely nothing has really changed, even though the powers that be would have us believe so. From the 17th century onwards, we believed we had found a way of revolting against this oppression. Across Europe and the US, so-called free men fought against the tyranny. And yet the fact is this. The rulers had people in both camps. The U.S. War of Independence, for instance, was led by men on both sides who were members of the same Freemasonic lodges, who were often themselves descendants of royal stock. The English Civil War ended up with the English begging for a royal to come back on the throne. It was all staged. It has always been staged. The First and Second World Wars changed the political map of Europe, and yet the royals and religions remain. Power cleverly shifts around, but always, at the very top, the same families run the world. Modern control began in the 18th century as a reaction to the growing enlightenment of the human population. The printed word had an unfortunate side effect for those in power. People started to gain knowledge, and spread dissent. One very clever method of controlling such dissent is to cause it, own it, and control it. Create your very own group that seemingly goes against the status quo, and not only do you manipulate those who are naturally drawn towards it, you gather your own secondary power base to play around with. One sure way of winning any game is to own both sides. In the 18th century, the modern era of mind control began with the creation of the Illuminati. The name in itself must remind us of the very fact that those who originally came to Earth were the illuminated ones. In the 18th century, a Freemason wrote the following words: "There are a certain number of people who have arrived at the highest degree of imposture. They have conceived the project of reigning over opinions and of conquering not kingdoms nor provinces, but the human mind. This project is gigantic and has something of madness in it, which causes neither alarm nor uneasiness. But when we descend to details, when we regard what passes before our eyes of the hidden principles, when we perceive a sudden revolution in favor of ignorance and incapacity, we must look for the cause of it. And if we find that a revealed and known system explains all the phenomena which succeeded each other with terrifying rapidity, how can we not believe it?" Standard history tells us that they were started by Jean Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Order of the Illuminati. Weishaupt was born in Bavaria on the 6th of February, 1748. His father, Baron Ickstadt, was a professor at the University of Ingolstadt, having married the niece of the curator. The Baron secured a scholarship at the Jesuit College for Adam, who then went on to become a law student at the age of 15. Ingolstadt was a steadfastly Jesuit area and had been for over 200 years. Dissent was not permitted, even though they had been partially suppressed in 1773 by Clement XIV. It has been said of the Jesuits that they were the world's largest and most powerful secret service, due mainly to the fact that they were feared by many in the Catholic Church, and that a universal confession could be well utilized for blackmail. According to a converted nun, the Jesuits offer the world at large a system of theology by which every law, divine or human, may be broken with impunity, and by which the very bulls of popes may be defied. It is a ghastly religion. It is a religion to be abhorred by all honest and honorable men. So according to this 19th century writer, they were even above the bulls of the Pope. Edwin A. Sherman, an American Freemason also writing in the 19th century, stated, "The Jesuits laugh at us, and during their hilarity, the rattlesnake is coiled at our feet, climbing to strike us in the heart." Even President Lincoln, who was finally assassinated after prior attempts, said, "The Jesuits are so expert in those deeds of blood that Henry IV said that it was impossible to escape them, and he became their victim, though he did all he could to protect himself. I know that the Jesuits never forget nor forsake." It seems like a peculiar world that the Jesuits inhabit. On the one hand, they fraternize with Freemasons, royalty, and presidents, and on the other, taking an oath which puts them at odds with just about everybody who is not Catholic. It is into this world that Weishaupt was brought up. By 1775, Weishaupt was professor of canon law at Ingolstadt, and it was this year he or somebody else chose for Weishaupt to form a plan of an association of which he would head. This association would, quote, "oppose the forces of superstition and lies," or in other words, religion. The thoughts of many commentators is that Weishaupt so hated the Jesuits that he thoroughly intended to do away with them once and for all. The truth is that Weishaupt was in fact trained by the Jesuits for the purpose of raising a worldwide army of spies who would constantly be feeding back information from their own enemies. The information that the Jesuits could not get anymore through their confessions. In fact, the Illuminati even set up their own confessions in line with that of the Jesuits. All of this surveillance and confession was fed back to the Jesuits from the very people who were supposed to be against them. How better to find out what was in the mind of the opposition than to be the opposition? This is a standard double ploy utilized for centuries by the secret services of all religions and states. They even fed the anti-Semitic rhetoric which suited the Catholic Church down to the ground. Through associations with the Freemasons, the Jesuits managed to get information from and influence to the Freemasons of the globe. These business leaders, politicians, military commanders, religionists, and so-called free thinkers were in fact being manipulated yet again, and very often with the exact same devices that had been used for thousands of years. Belief in a divine entity, worship of a being of light, otherwise known as Lucifer, and even the concept that their own secret line stretched back to the time of Egypt and beyond. What many probably didn't realize was this: all of that was true. They were being controlled and manipulated by a sacred line that did originate thousands of years ago, and they still are. Following Weishaupt's amazing creation, out of the order of a much older institution, we suddenly have several worldwide revolutions, and the balance of power supposedly shifting like never before. The Illuminati stretch right back into the realm of the Shining Ones in Afghanistan. This link is with the Roshania, or Illuminated Ones, and reference to them comes from the House of Wisdom in Cairo, a veritable fount of esoteric knowledge predating the Roshania by hundreds of years. The earliest leader we know of is Bayezid Ansari, who claimed descent from the helpers of Muhammad. Using merchants and soldiers, Bayezid eventually spread his message across the world by word of mouth, and those Gnostics and mystics who heard the message already understood the secret of illumination.
Alien influence is not the only answer to the pyramid design. There are those who speculate that mankind, as we know it today, is one of several civilizations that have occupied the Earth over time. It is said we are the fifth race, the current advanced civilization. But in distant times past, other races called Earth home. Imagine your neighborhood. Then imagine that mankind were to be wiped off the earth, either by a plague or by our own hand of destruction. If you remove man, then within just 100 years, your neighborhood would be little more than remnants of what stands today. In 5,000 years, you would be hard-pressed to find any artifacts left, as cars would rust to dust. Buildings would collapse and deteriorate into nothing, and streets would be scattered rubble. In 1,000,000 years, nothing would still exist that would tell any visitor that mankind even existed at all. The Earth would, over time, reshape itself, and few, if any, remnants of our civilization would be visible. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. That means the Earth is 4 billion, or 1,000 million years old 4 times. In that time, several civilizations could have rose and fallen multiple times after the Earth cooled. After all, our knowledge of modern man is only about 10,000 years old. a mere fraction of time in the whole scheme of things. With our modern technology and archaeology, we can only look back a few million years, and the further back we go, the less accurate our dating becomes. The question now is, could a previous civilization have left a few monuments that did survive for our ancient man to have discovered, and that inspired them to create pyramids? Or could some of the oldest pyramids be remnants from some previous and even more ancient culture, one we know nothing about? We would know nothing about these previous cultures and would have no perspective to even speculate what their lives were like, how intelligent they were, and what technologies they may or may not have developed. All of their technology would have gone to waste long ago. Any writings they may have had, books they wrote, or even advanced technology would be nothing but dust deep within the earth now. However, some robust stone structures may still exist, and these stone structures would be the only tell of who they were and what they were capable of. There are rock walls in Sacsayhuaman, Peru, that appear to have been melted or molded into shapes that fit together. The wall is ancient, and scholars believe it was built by the Inca, though dating them is almost impossible as we cannot date rocks. Some believe these walls may be much older than currently believed and could be remnants from a very ancient civilization. Most of our knowledge of this wall comes from stories handed down by the Inca. The best known in this area includes its Great Plaza and its adjacent 3 massive terrace walls. The stones used in the construction of these terraces are among the largest used in any building in pre-Hispanic America. They display a precision of cutting and fitting that is unmatched in the Americas. The stones are so closely spaced that a single piece of paper will not fit between them. This precision, combined with the rounded corners of the blocks, the variety of their interlocking shapes, and the way the walls lean inward, is thought to have helped the ruins survive devastating earthquakes. Many of these stones weigh 200 tons. Is it possible that due to the way these stones were laid and designed and have survived modern quakes, they could have survived ancient and even pre-mankind quakes to remain today as just a few artifacts of a long-lost civilization? The Inca could have discovered them and built their plaza around them. Too often, we have seen cultures discover monuments from previous peoples and then claim them as their own, even inventing stories attributed to the discoverers that they built these marvels when in fact they knew nothing about the culture that actually built them. Claiming land and all within it and then distorting history to make yourself look grandiose is common in all cultures. What we do know is these walls appear to show a technology that can't be reproduced today. The ability to melt giant rocks and shape them into intricate designs and fit them together perfectly with ease. Recently, 17 lost pyramids are among the buildings identified in new satellite surveys of Egypt. More than 1,000 tombs and 3,000 ancient settlements were also revealed by looking at infrared images that show up underground buildings. Initial evacuations have already confirmed some of the findings, including 2 suspected pyramids. The work has been pioneered at the University of Alabama at Birmingham by U.S. Egyptologist Dr. Sarah Parkett. the team analyzed images from satellites orbiting above the Earth, equipped with cameras so powerful they can pinpoint objects less than a meter in diameter in the Earth's surface. Infrared imaging was used to highlight different materials under the surface, and the doctor pinpointed 2 potential pyramids, so they made test evacuations, and they now believe it is one of the most important archaeological sites in Egypt. The doctor said the most exciting moment was visiting the excavations of Tanis. They had excavated a 3,000-year-old house that the satellite imagery had shown, and the outline of the structure matched the satellite imagery perfectly. That was real validation of the technology. The Egyptian authorities plan to use the technology to help, among other things, protect the country's antiquities in the future, and she believes there are more antiquities to be discovered. 17 new and lost pyramids would be a huge find and would add to our knowledge of the dates and ways they were constructed. It boggles the mind that so many pyramids exist in Egypt alone. Imagine if this new technology were to look for lost pyramids in Mexico or even the United States. We think of pyramids as rare and unique, but now we're finding them all over the globe and in places ancient people should have had no contact with other cultures. We're also finding there are far more of them than previously discovered. Apparently, this shape and design was far more widespread than we ever imagined, and more discoveries are being made within and around the ones we do know about every few years. Some of these pyramids that are hidden and buried could be much older than the ones we now see on the surface. They could contain clues to who built them and even a connection to an extraterrestrial source for their inspiration, or even technology left behind by a previous civilization. The wonder of the pyramids are enormous, and as we discover more, we find those discoveries bring more questions than answers. Often we learn something new, but add additional mysteries to the whole of the pyramid design. Who knows what may be revealed in our lifetimes as more of these monuments are studied and discovered? Perhaps we will be the generation of our civilization that will finally answer the mysterious questions of the pyramids.